Support for Radio Friends comes from OsteoStrong. Improvements in bone density, strength, and power can be achieved by weekly 5-minute no-sweat sessions on their 4-spectrum machines. These isometric robotic machines safely emulate high-impact loading on different parts of the skeletal system, which stimulates activity in bone-building cells. Balance and agility can be improved by 2-minute sessions on vibration plates. Every session is supervised by a trained coach. Learn more on Facebook or call to set up a complimentary wellness assessment and session. Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on this Thursday, January the 27th. As I always say, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Our guest today is not sitting right next to me, but he's coming to us from his office with Zoom. And I'm talking about my friend ALEX LaBRUNERIE. Good to have you here, Alex.
Good to see you by Zoom, Paul. Sorry I could not be down there with you guys.
Yeah, I understand. We're taking all the precautions that are necessary for COVID. Looks good to see you in your office, though, with your bow tie on and that picture in the background there. But today you wanted to talk about inflation. Where are we going with that?
Well, inflation's been probably a lot of listeners are tired of hearing the word. It's been in the news for several months now, but on Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve, is really going to change course. As of last month, on December 15th, he and the Federal Reserve Bank said that they plan on raising rates at least 3 times in 2022. So if one recalls, in the summer of last year, he did not mention raising rates until possibly the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. And why this is important, it's being called the Powell pivot. So in December, inflation has been so high compared to what the Fed thought it would be in the summer, that they need to pivot and raise interest rates sooner rather than later.
So what does that mean for just the general public? If the Federal Reserve raises the interest rate, how is that going to affect me and you and people listening?
These very, very low interest rates, the housing market is in a boom phase because mortgages are at record lows, so you can finance a house much cheaper than you could a few years ago. So that could affect what borrowers pay for their housing mortgage, their house mortgage. But investors who own bonds in their portfolio need to be looking at those bonds, expecting they're not going to do very well as far as price stability in the next couple of quarters. In fact, the bond market's already dropped about 2% just in this year alone, this January, here the last few weeks of January. So rising interest rates will really kind of take away the punch bowl of easy money, as it's called. So
okay,
our borrowing costs will be cheaper.
What about the stock market, though, in general? Will it go up, down, or become very volatile?
I think will be volatile. It's not an immediate downward pressure for stocks, or not. There's different industries that do better in an inflationary period. Fast-growing companies are always in demand by stock investors. But if inflation goes on too long, or if the Fed is not successful in reducing inflation, eventually the stock market could see downward pressure more than upward pressure. So
okay. At this point, it's too early to tell what's going to happen there.
Yes, and hopefully the Federal Reserve is successful in its containment strategy for inflation. They are of the mind, they say, that inflation will go away once COVID's out of the system, once the supply chains healed and put back together after COVID. But COVID has an economic cost.
Yeah.
That we all are aware of.
COVID is kind of like the bull in the China cabinet or in the China store. You don't know which way it's going to go. At this point, it's really volatile. The other thing you were talking about before we came on the air was Apple. Tell the folks what you were telling me about Apple. What was it back in 2000? What year was it?
On the show, Paul, in August of 2018, on the show, you and I were talking about and remarking on how Apple stock had grown to be valued at over almost $1 trillion, $1 trillion.
Now that was in 2018.
2018. Within the last couple of months, at the end of this last year, 21, Apple had hit $3 trillion in market valuation.
$3 trillion. What did that mean to somebody who would have bought Apple stock back in 2018?
Well, they would have made a triple-digit return on their investment. It's also remarkable to think that the economy of Mexico is about $2 trillion in gross domestic output per year, and that it's not an exact comparison, but that one American stock, is worth more than the output of
Mexico,
our neighbor to the south.
Yeah. And what about Canada? You were comparing it to Canada also.
Same true with the Canadian GDP. So,
Alex, we're just about out of time, but any advice for people that are listening or watching as far as 2022?
Check in on the bond holdings of the portfolio, Paul. That's something that the interest rates will affect. Look at that with your advisor. Then start 2022 is always New Year's resolution to save more for retirement.
Right.
Increase your retirement savings.
Yeah, that retirement comes up quicker than you think. So sock a little extra away if you can afford it. And even if you can't afford it, drop something else and put some money away in savings because it comes up fast. Alex, thank you. Thank you so much for visiting us. For people who want more information, how can they contact you?
At our office in Columbia, 573-449-5313.
Okay, thank you so much. And you go in on Friday, and you got Bowtie Friday, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. PepperPMissouri.edu. Bye-bye.